Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cat Sports, and it's our NFC North weekly breakdown. Just going over the games. The Lions having a bye week this week. Going to even dive more into probably the other teams, as every other team in the NFC North has won this week. We'll start with the first game in England. The Vikings pulling out a win against the Jets. Thank God for their defense. They got me 20 points in fantasy. But I mean, they keep on playing well. They're still undefeated, and in fact, they get a bye week before they come and play the Lions, I believe, in 2 weeks. So they are starting out hot. Sam Darnold's still looking decent. He didn't have the greatest day. He was 14 for 31, 179 yards and an interception. But overall, the Vikings are still looking good.
Oh yeah, their defense looks really good. Their offense was like spotty. Darnold. This is like the first week where I've actually got to watch all three games of the NFC North teams, and I thought Minnesota, like I said, they're legit. Darnold looked a little more like the Darnold I'm used to. He threw some interceptions, and I think, like I said, he seems to be at home. He seems to have found his place, and the NFC North is going to be brutal all year long.
I mean,
every matchup, every game against each other is going to be a knockdown, drag out. And like I said, watching the Vikings, my impression of them is, like I said, that's a typical Viking team where, we counted them out, and they're not going anywhere. They're going to be there at the end of the year, and at the moment, I don't know. I'd put them as the favorite to win the division, considering their schedule.
They're ahead. They have a pretty easy schedule going the rest of the way. The only thing is, I think their defense more won the game against the Jets than the offense. I mean, sometimes you're going to have those kinds of wins. They're not a team you really, I think, want to face if you are the Lions, but you're going to have to play them twice. Probably that game at the end of the year is really, really going to matter, especially if you can pull out the win in Minnesota. That last game of the year will probably matter a lot. So got to make sure you're keeping up with them as a Lion.
I don't think there's any way we win this division unless we beat Minnesota twice.
Which I don't know if that's going to happen.
Right.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but Minnesota's playing well. And,
barring injuries.
Good for them. But, I mean, Aaron Jones did get hurt.
Right.
In this game, so I mean that also sucked because I had him on my fantasy too, so I mean I could even check that real quick, see what's going on. But I mean I know it's a hip injury. He was out he got hurt in the first quarter of the game, but we'll see what ends up happening going forward. He is scheduled to go in MRI today as I'm making this video, so there's nothing that has exactly come out yet. But all I know is at least it's his hip.
Right. I'm not sure that will. I mean, it certainly will hurt their running game, but I won't derail them. I mean, I still think, like I said, their schedule is so bad that I think they could overcome that.
Looking ahead at the other teams in said division, we're going to the Bears. They ended up obviously beating the Panthers. The Panthers suck. They won 36-10. Not a bad day at all. Another 300-yard day for Caleb Williams. He was 20 for 29 through 2 TDs. They also ended up rushing for 128 yards. But overall, they had a good game, which is good for them. Like I said, their schedule ain't that bad. They can end up winning more. They're currently a winning football team sitting at 3-2, and overall, they had another good game.
The Panthers are so awful, it's hard to tell. I just, like I said, the Bears are not a great team by any, or they're not. I wouldn't even know if they're a good team yet, but their defense is. You can't gauge nothing playing against the Panthers. I mean, they just seem like a really awful team. So I'm going to withhold judgment on that. But like you said, they're 3-2, and
they don't have a difficult schedule.
Right. So who knows?
If they can even play decent for most of the season, they'll be fine.
This division is going to be decided when the teams play each other. I don't know if Chicago's played a division opponent yet.
No.
We haven't.
That's why they technically have one of the tougher schedules going forward. They still technically have 6 games against all divisional opponents, which all are expected to be better than them.
Right.
So it's
Right. So we got, like I said, we haven't played a division team. The only division game has been Green Bay against Minnesota, which Minnesota pretty much handled Green Bay pretty well, even though they came back and made it close. So, like I said, this is where our division is going to be. It's going to be when we go head to head against each other.
Looking at the last game, you had the Green Bay Packers pulling out a win against the LA Rams. Green Bay now at a 3-2 record, 24-19, the final score of that game. I didn't really get to see the end of this game, but I mean, another good game for Jordan Love. 15 for 26, 224 yards, 2 TDs, and an interception. The interception he threw was pretty bad. I did see that on social media.
Yeah.
That was a bad interception that he threw, but overall, another good day. Rushing wise, the team did good rushing, 126 total yards. A nice, well-rounded team still winning games. They're also at 3-2 right now.
Right.
And LA is still struggling. So
right. Well,
that helped with them
they're
too.
so decimated by the injuries. Stafford's doing all he can. If it wasn't for that pick 6, the game probably wouldn't even have been close. So, it's just it's hard for LA because they can't do what they want to do without Nakua and
Look, I mean,
Cup. So it's until those guys come back and their offensive line has got some health to it. It's hard to tell what these guys could do. They could be as good as anybody in the NFC if they were healthy.
Yeah, they showed how good they were on week 1,
right?
Fully healthy. So it's really anything can happen. This division is close. If you don't win against the Cowboys, you're 3-2, just like the other 2 teams below you. There's not a losing team inside the division. In fact, currently, if the Packers or Bears could be technically winning the NFC South or the NFC West.
What's our next 4 games?
So,
I know we got Dallas.
So looking at everybody's games coming up, we'll start obviously with the Lions. We'll just do that. We have Dallas, Minnesota, Tennessee, and Packers, which is going to be your next 4. Well, your next 5 games are a test because if you go one more, it's the Texans.
To me, it's almost like I said, I'm getting to the point. I know it sounds ridiculous and probably unrealistic, but in order to win the division, not go to the playoffs, because I think they're going to go to the playoffs, I think they almost have to be undefeated in the division. And I don't know if that's possible.
You're playing at Dallas, at Minnesota, come home against the Titans, then you go to Green Bay and to the Texans. Right now you're going to be on the road 4 out of the next 5 weeks.
It's going to be rough.
It is not going to be a stretch where you're probably going to win a lot of games. You are favorited right now in Dallas, which I don't know when the last time that happened was. But you're favorited by 3.5 in Dallas.
I think you should go 4-1 over the next 5. You need to. Although that's going to be very, very hard to do.
Houston's really good, but your defense has stepped up, which is something that you need to win the games, like games against Houston, games against Green Bay, games against Minnesota. You should beat the Titans, no problem. The Cowboys are struggling, barely getting wins. You should be able to beat the Cowboys. But we'll see what happens. It is in Dallas. The Lions never play fantastic in Dallas.
I think they need to beat Dallas because that next week is
Minnesota. The next week in Minnesota is not going to be easy. And then your Packers game isn't going to be easy on top of the Titans game. Luckily,
at Green Bay.
You're at Green Bay.
Oh, okay, so we're getting that out of the way.
Luckily, after that, you have a couple easy games.
We play Green Bay, and it's going to be still decent.
Once you get through those 5 games, you have a couple easy ones to help you. You're gonna look at it. It's going to be the Jaguars and the Colts before you come home to play the Bears on Thanksgiving. So you got a couple bounce back games that you can do as well. As the Lions have a chance to kind of still keep up, even though they're only 1 loss. It's difficult to try and figure out what Minnesota's going to do. Minnesota, they have a bye week this week, and then they're going to play the Lions, Rams, Colts, Jaguars, Titans. So they're not playing anybody too difficult except for the Lions.
Right.
After that, they should
Well,
be
that's
able to
gonna
win
be
the rest of that.
their schedule. Their only difficult games are gonna be against us and
Because you
Green
got the
Bay.
Bears after that, then the Cardinals, Falcons, Bears, Seahawks, Packers, and then us again. So there's a very good chance if Minnesota can keep up what they're doing, they could go undefeated.
They could. Well, I can't see that. No.
They could
No.
because they have their home game against the Packers. The one I see, maybe the Seahawks might give them a little bit of a challenge, because they're in Seattle, and obviously the Lions will give them a challenge.
I don't think they're that.
But
good.
besides that, I don't know. Well, I just don't know who they're facing, who's a challenge to how they're playing right now.
Well, right.
That besides us, who's the challenge?
Right. Yeah,
Us in Green Bay and maybe Seattle. But Seattle
They're kinda
hasn't
doing
looked good.
what we did last year. So it's almost like I said, it may be a moot point. I don't know. But we need to beat Minnesota. I mean, we got to at least show them they're still not.
Looking ahead with the Packers, you got the Cardinals, the Texans, the Jaguars, the Lions, the Bears, and then the 49ers. So 50-50 on the Packers schedule for the next 5 weeks. But we'll see what ends up happening. I don't know if they'll beat well, they should be able to beat the Cardinals at home, so they should have another win this week. And then the Bears, they have a nice matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars in London. Second game for an NFC North team in London this year. They should beat the Jaguars. So
You don't know. Didn't the Jaguars win this week?
they did. They're now 1-4, but the Jaguars absolutely suck. So they ended up beating the Colts by a field goal. But
Yeah, I mean, but the Bears suck too. So you just never know what's going to show up. The Bears certainly can beat the Colts, but the Colts can beat the Bears too. So that's kind of a toss-up.
It's going to be
whoever shows up.
If everyone keeps on winning, it's just going to keep interesting. Maybe the whole NFC North will be in the playoffs
Could be.
this year. Be all wild card
Is
teams.
that possible? Yeah, I guess it could be.
You have 3 wild card teams.
Just beat the shit out of each other. That's what we're going to be doing.
But with all that being said, if you'd like to see, you like, comment, subscribe, let us know what you think about the division so far with the Lions week off. There was no progress made for them. Until next time, see everybody soon.